Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I wanted to talk to you about that after listening to the earnings call that we just had 3 times, I think I found out what's wrong with Rocket Lab's stock, and I wanted to have a talk about this. So it's my deep thoughts after the Q4 earnings and when we can expect to moon with the stock and why Wall Street does not like this stock. So welcome everyone back. Please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel if you are not, and if you want to support the channel, there is a Patreon. You can be a channel member, and thank you so much for you who already are Patreon and channel members. It's very nice. So yeah, it's been 2 days now. I'm sorry that this video didn't came out yesterday. I was just honestly so tired because when the conference call was very late in my time zone, and then I stayed up to even make a video after that, and I had to wake up early the next day, and I was just too damn tired, and I fell asleep while listening to the conference call again. But better late than never. So today is the day. So there was some very brain-dead analysts, and to be honest, I got very annoyed because when the report came out, the stock tanked 10%, and I thought that that was completely unwarranted. And I saw it from the day before. Interactive Broker sent me an email that one of your stocks is reporting tomorrow, and the consensus, earnings is this, and the consensus EPS is this. And I was looking at the numbers and I compared them to what they pre-released basically on January 27th before the convertible offering. And I saw that the analysts didn't even bother to update their numbers. We missed the rocket launch last quarter, and that resulted in the launch revenue being $8 million down, but the space system was doing so much better that they were just $2 or $3 million down. But still, these guys didn't even update their consensus and EPS estimates, and I was like, oh no, probably when the numbers come out, the algos are going to be, oh, it's a double miss, and then they're going to sell off the stock. And that's exactly what happened. And then in the middle of the conference call, they were like, why are we selling this stock again? And then it went green again. And then it went to minus 5% by the opening day. And then it went back to minus like 15% at one point. And then back to positive, and then back to minus. I've never seen volatility like we have in Rocket Lab. So, and then on top of it, some of the analysts were asking questions that have been answered on previous earnings calls and previous interviews, and Peter Beck was just repeating himself, and I felt sorry that they're like wasting everyone's time. And if they would just watch one Rocket Lab weekly, or they would spend, I don't know, an extra half an hour before they get invited to a conference call to research the company, they wouldn't have these questions. Like, for example, one of the questions was, after you return Varda, are you planning to have human spaceflight on Neutron, and tell us your milestones, or like what time you're going to achieve this? And Peter Beck has said it so many times that there's only one customer, NASA, and it's really well served by SpaceX, and they thought about having it human rated, but they are spending zero time on trying to make it that, because it doesn't make sense. Such a brain dead question. And then the second one was like, if you're going to launch from New Zealand, and wallops, and tell us why. And we don't need to go into it. I just got annoyed on the analyst. But some questions were amazing. So, for example, one of them was asking, how do you see the growth in space systems? And by the way, one problem with Rocket Lab, the reason why the stock is not liked, is these guys, they take like zero effort to pump the stock, and they would have so many opportunities to, give in some tidbits that would pump the stock. And both Adam Spice and Peter Beck, they're so just real and just, telling how it is. And that usually doesn't sound sexy. What sounds sexy is like, FSD is going to be done this year. But, Rocket Lab and this other company's culture is like the polar opposites of each other. So they asked them, what do you see in space systems? And again, they could have said easily 30% per year growth, or, we see insane growth, and yeah, but they didn't. They just said that because the governments are changing from geostationary orbit, from having one satellite into constellations of satellites in low Earth orbit, and this is what they got the SDA deal for, and all the the US government is doing this, so that opens the door for more deals, and because a lot of governments follow the US government, that opens the deal for even more governments. So they see really good future demand. They didn't say how much, and but they see very good demand. So I really liked seeing that. Then they got asked about the backlog, because their backlog was over $1 billion. It went 2x, and where they see the backlog building. And Adam Spice said that he thinks that Electron and the Haste launches are going to be very good at building backlog. And the minute Neutron is done, it's going to be a lot of backlog from that. Then another very good question was, they asked them, you raised this money to acquire companies, $355 million. And I guess many others were expecting that they are going to announce what company they're going to acquire. But they really just wanted to have, dry powder in the war chest. And they didn't disclose what company they're looking at. And it sounded like it's companies, not one. And they gave a really good description, because they said that we are really not doing this to buy revenue. We are doing this to make sure that we have everything for the future space infrastructure, which I think is the value of the company. I think currently the company is undervalued for being a launch provider and a space systems company. And maybe that is this much, and the space infrastructure will give this much in valuation. So that's very exciting. And he said that we want to make sure we have everything in-house, and we have been, and we are buying, companies that we have an established good relationship with. And this is why, because somebody asked, can you tell us which companies you see coming on the market? And they're like, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with what companies are coming on the market. It's more that the valuations and the expectations of the sellers have come down, and they feel that they can make good deals on the people that they have been working with, and they need for the future space infrastructure. So, I get a very good feeling about this, that they're very strategic, very thought through, and this is exactly what we need. Then another thing that was interesting is they asked about EBITDA break even, and I will come back to this point. This will be very important later. They said that it's impossible for them to be adjusted EBITDA positive without Neutron flying, because there's so much investments going into Neutron, and until Neutron is flying, it's not even possible. And the minute Neutron is flying, then you will have a clear line of sight into when they are going to be adjusted EBITDA possible. But now I understand, because for some reason I thought that even with the Neutron development ongoing, they can become cash flow positive. But I was wrong about this. And this is why they are not really saying, okay, in the middle of 2025, we will be cash flow positive. Because if there is a delay, then it goes to 26, or if there's an even bigger delay, then it goes to the middle of 2026. So I was a bit surprised to hear that Neutron is so connected to the company being adjusted EBITDA positive. And keep in mind, this adjusted EBITDA positive means that they will still be losing money on a GAAP basis, but because of the stock-based compensation is a non-cash item in the bookkeeping, cash-wise, they will not be losing money. And that is a huge and major milestone, but it's important that you understand that they're not talking about GAAP profitability yet. Another very interesting thing is that they asked them again about what opportunities Neutron is going to open for them. And Peter and specifically asked about lane 1 of the national security, and I actually have to do more research on what exactly that is. But as far as I understand, it's that this program, the only way that you can qualify for this program is that you have to have a working rocket or a very clear path to a working rocket to be able to bid for this program. And as far as I understand, a lot of competitors to Rocket Lab have already fallen out, like they are for sure not going to be able to bid for this. And Peter Beck said that there's a lot of engineers sleeping on the desk trying to make this happen, because this would open, again here they don't pump the stock, but obviously this would open to hundreds of millions or even billions of new contracts. So this was the biggest takeaways. Now, why is Rocket Lab stock not moving? So, and when can we see it move? I actually realized that because, you know, we all have our opinions, we all have our valuation, at least I hope you do, you know, this is what I teach on this channel, that you should think for yourself, and none of what I'm saying is financial advice. So I had a valuation for Rocket Lab, which is based on, you know, the launch services, space services, and then the space infrastructure. And to be honest, the space infrastructure, I think, is going to be like 5xing Rocket Lab, and they are undervalued just for the launch and the space system, right? But we have to understand how Wall Street looks at this stock, because my money and your money ain't going to push up this stock. This stock is going to move when Wall Street wakes up and finally decides to buy up this stock. And this is where the problems lie. So number one, Wall Street is not even really paying attention to this stock, because they're not even updating the numbers that they come out with, you know, a month before the earnings. And some of the analysts were really good, but some of the analysts clearly have not done 5 minutes of research before they went on the earnings call. So until this changes, we will not really see the buying pressure needed to make the stock move. Then the second thing that I realized is that Neutron is so connected to profitability that it adds a whole other layer of risk when you look from the Wall Street eye. Because I had this idea that even without Neutron, they can become cash flow positive, but I was disabused from this idea, because clearly Adam Spice said that that is not the case. They have to have Neutron flying. That's the only way that they can be EBITDA positive. So in a way, for Wall Street, that means that you're betting the whole company on Neutron. And again, it comes into, you know, how much risk and reward, and, you know, because the things that can happen. So one thing is if Neutron is delayed a year or two. So that means that profitability is delayed a year or two. If there's extra costs on this, maybe they need to raise capital, which means dilution, which is, you know, a huge drop in the stock price. Maybe, I know we don't believe in this, but I'm just saying, like, maybe Neutron is not successful at all. Maybe they need, because if you look at, for example, Starship, there have been 2 launches, both of them blew up. So, and, you know, usually rockets blow up. So what if the first launch is launched, but the rocket blows up, doesn't reach orbit, and then they have to build another one, which also blows up? Like, what if it takes them 3-4 tries to make Neutron into a successful rocket? And again, that can lead to additional money needs, which can lead to, you know, having to raise additional money. So I realized that from Wall Street eyes, right now this company is too risky, and most probably until Neutron is flying, we are not going to see a huge increase in the stock, because the institutional investors just think that this stock is too risky. And this is very good for us retail investors, because we have a very extended period of the stock being very, very cheap. And for those of us who believe that Peter Beck is going to make it go right, and they're going to succeed with this, again, I'm 100% sure they're going to succeed with this. I'm not sure that it's on the timeline that we have. So I do see a risk there, but that risk I'm willing to live with. And I think that once Neutron is flying, we are going to see a very rapid, like doubling, tripling, or basically a mooning of the stock, because we are going to go to the moon and Mars and beyond, and quite literally actually with the Neutron rocket. So I think that's what's wrong with the Rocket Lab, and that's what's holding the stock back. Overall, I'm very, very happy with the earnings. I think we're executing very nicely. I'm more and more bullish on the stock. But just because I'm bullish on the stock, I don't have enough money to push the stock up for you guys. So I hope you understand. And yeah, just use this time wisely while you can get shares cheap for the stock. And I think, not financial advice, it's all going to work out really, really, really well. So let me know what you thought in the comments. Please make sure you subscribe. If you want to support the channel, there is links and you know what to do. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Ciao, ciao.